metal is already too hot to touch. Okay, we'll do it the hard way. That should do the trick. That's not just smoke. I can actually taste lumps of ash. It's time for my deputy sheriff's story. I uncoupled the locomotive at full speed. Not bad, eh?
Do you think we'll get in trouble?
Because of the locomotive? I don't think so. It was pretty old already. Come out so we can have a chat. I checked the entire train. There's no one on it except for us. What an adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me, what did you see on the train?
Well, it was like this. I wanted to get my pistol. Achoo!
And then?
When the guy was gone, I got up and banged on the window. I wanted to get out of there, but then I thought, what if the guy can hear me from the next car? So I got scared, and I hid again.
You did well. The envelope.
I thought it might be important. The
It's evidence.
And my chance to go with you.
The ticket and everything else in the envelope are part of my investigation, and you have no part to play in Cairo.
If I hadn't given you the envelope, you'd have no proof that the Raven's heir would be on the ship.
Ugh. The ship is his next chance to steal the eye, and he won't give up until he has it.
And that's precisely why you should let me come along.
No.
I deserve to come along.
What you did was extraordinary. Far more than anyone could have a right to expect from you.
And you still want to leave me behind?
You met our foe and barely escaped with your life. You may not be that lucky next time.
It wasn't luck.
You can return to Switzerland with your head held high. Enjoy your triumph.
I have not achieved anything yet. The Fiend tried to kill us, and he's still at large. What else did you find out in the tunnel?
Not much. After we came out of the tunnel, Robert and I questioned the passengers.
Which didn't turn up anything new.
No, the engineer and the fireman were missing. They were found a few kilometers back on the track. Both claimed to have been overwhelmed by a shadow and thrown off the train.
But you don't believe that.
I'm checking their stories. One of them may have been paid to eliminate the other one.
How could the Raven's heir have found out about the trap? How was he able to put the dynamite in the box and place the letter?
The dynamite was probably already in the box when I put it in the safe. I didn't check it.
You had no reason to do so.
It wasn't my only mistake. I knew someone was on the roof of the freight car, but I let myself be distracted by that damned letter.
How did you know?
Too late. I should have reacted instantly.
I'm coming with you. Full stop.
The thief was able to place 10 sticks of dynamite in a cash box right under my nose. For all we know, you could already be sitting on the next bomb. You cannot come.
But, Inspector...
We're here.
Inspector Legrand, an urgent telegram from Paris.
Bad news?
It's about the unfortunate events on the train. I'm to return to Paris and explain myself.
But sir, what about the eye?
They want to inform the Egyptian authorities that there might be a burglary attempt.
Might?
Egyptian authorities? What if the jewel is stolen at sea?
I know. I never received it. Keep a close watch on the loading of the eye, Robert.
Aye, sir. It was a pleasure meeting you, Constable Zelma.
And the second eye is in that safe?
Yes, an emerald. It's been kept in a bank in Zurich since the start of the war. I personally took it out of the bank vault, and Professor Lucien certified that it was the real thing.
And while a fake jewel was sent by train,
the real one was brought here in an armored car.
How is it protected?
You can only open the safe if you have 3 special keys. Professor Lucien has one, and Baroness von Trebitz, who's paying for all this, has the second. The third was sent by air courier to Dr. Abbas Mokhtar, the director of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
So, not even you could possibly open the safe before it arrives in Egypt.
That's correct. We don't want to make it too easy for potential thieves.
Commendable. Why does Constable Oliver have a problem with me?
I think he's jealous. Scotland Yard assigned him to assist me, just as you were sent by the Swiss authorities.
With the distinction that he may go to Egypt.
Robert is to accompany me at all times. Your mission was restricted to Switzerland.
At this moment, I want to be sent back to Switzerland just as much as you want to be sent back to Paris.
I know, but I'm walking on thin ice, and I can't carry you too.
I hope you're aware of the fact that you're risking your career.
Indeed I am.
Why do you care so much about this case? Someone pretends to be the Raven, and you promptly risk your career?
What if he's not just pretending?
What do you mean by that?
It's his handwriting. And there's only one person who ever called me Nico. Have you ever considered the possibility that I shot the wrong man?
But what do you mean by that?
Let us assume, just for a moment, that the person I shot and who fell from the roof was not the Raven. Who would have cared enough to uncover the truth? The chief of police, the politicians? No. They wanted to revel in a successful manhunt, and it was the best thing that could have happened to the Raven. The search for him was over. He had no reason to fear me anymore. I had so many medals afterwards that he could hear them jingling kilometers away.
And now he's back? And you're the only one who can stop him? Does that sound probable to you?
The feathers, the letters. Nico. No one outside the police force knew that the Raven used to call me that in his letters.
Policemen gossip, and there are plenty of forgers. You can't seriously intend to stake your reputation on such weak evidence.
My reputation rests on something that I probably did not do. I have to find out who's behind all this.
Let's review. One of the two most valuable jewels in the world was stolen. Obviously, the second one will be next. And you suspect a legendary burglar who's been dead for 5 years.
Go on.
The second jewel is about to be put on board over there, in a safe that requires 3 keys. Our thief may already have the first key, the archaeologist's key, from the train. We don't know anything about the status of the second key, which was meant to be air freighted to Cairo.
We have to assume that he already has it.
Therefore, there's just one key left. The Baroness's.
Correct.
So, you'll need my eyes on board.
Look, you can keep your eyes open for me here on the wharf. I'd be most grateful. But when this ship sets sail, you will not, I repeat, not be on board.
But, Inspector...
We're dealing with a dangerous man, and I will pursue him regardless of the consequences. I won't let you get mixed up in this affair.
It's still my decision.
No, it's not. It's mine, and I've already made it. Good day, Constable Zellner.
In my younger years, I might have considered abseiling from the crane down to the ship. But those days are long past. Amazing how much luggage there is for so few passengers. And I'd guess that 3/4 of it belongs to the women. Fine car. But nothing compared to the young lady who owns it. Who could she be? An actress? A millionaire's daughter? She's certainly attracting a lot of attention. I'll take an inconspicuous look up close.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting anyone to be crawling around on the ground in front of my door.
Don't worry about it, miss. No harm done.
Oh, that's good to hear, Mr.
Zellner. Anton Jakob Zellner. May I ask your name?
Patricia Mayers.
Are you American?
I am. Could you help me, please?
Certainly. Are you on your way to Egypt?
Yes.
Are you on holiday?
My father works for a railroad company there.
And is rebuilding the country after the war. Wonderful.
Yes. Wonderful. One more.
You're lucky to have a father who takes you to so many interesting places.
Oh, yes. Lucky me.
Aren't you interested in Egypt? The pyramids, the history.
I would have been more interested in a father who doesn't travel 300 days a year.
I'm sure your father regrets that he can't always be with you.
No doubt. And I'm sure he always wanted the best for me. But that doesn't stop him from thinking only about himself far too often. Bring my luggage on board, please.
Excuse me?
It was a pleasure meeting you, Constable Zoller.
Impertinent. I'll be marching up this gangway today, no matter what. Someone has to stop that damn bomber before he endangers more people. Is the doctor afraid to board the ship? Constable Oliver seems to be a little simplistic. But I don't think he's a bad policeman. The way he reacted in the tunnel and got the train moving. Hats off. Hello, Constable Olivier.
It's Oliver.
I just wanted to say that you did a good job in the tunnel.
Thanks.
How did you know how to get the train moving?
I come from a family of miners, and my uncle is an engine driver down a mine.
I see. And you looked over his shoulder.
Yeah, best way to learn.
Did Legrand tell you about his theory? That it could be the real Raven?
Of course he did. We're partners.
But the modus operandi doesn't fit at all. The Raven wasn't a bomber.
We have the letter. And the feather. That's his symbol.
Anyone can put a feather in an envelope.
You would know.
What's that supposed to mean?
It was you.
What was me?
You put the envelope on the safe.
To blow myself up?
You threw the bomb away, and now you're the famous hero, right? And the Raven must have paid you pretty well.
That is ridiculous.
Is it? Only you and I and Legrand were in the freight car. One of us must have put the envelope on the safe. Legrand didn't. And I didn't. Think about it.
I don't want to run into Legrand before I have something new. Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
Ah, the hero of the hour.
The hero of the hour, but out of work soon.
Oh, you won't be a policeman anymore?
Yes, but on my old beat, which is almost as good as being out of work.
I understand.
Is your new job bothering you?
On the contrary, I wasn't sure whether I made the right decision until now. I'm from the Black Forest, you know. There are only mountains there. No ships. But now... the salty breeze, the atmosphere... I think I want to stay at sea forever.
The sea is one thing. The passengers are another.
It will be okay.
What do you know about the Baroness?
Nothing really.
Did you talk to her in the tunnel?
No. Her butler was looking after her, and I was busy with Miss Miller. As you can imagine, it was a shock for her to see her son rolling away on a burning train.
That's understandable.
So, we were all glad when we heard about your brave deed.
Have you already met the captain?
Mario Di Conti. Heard of him?
Should I have?
He is something of a star in Italy. A war hero. In the First World War, when he was a young man, he sank more enemy ships than anyone else. In the Second World War, well, he had some personal problems.
You mean like the ones you buy in bottles and pillboxes?
Yeah, you could say that. Anyway, sending him into combat was out of the question. They gave him a supply ship instead, and he became a hero again. His ship, part of a convoy from Palermo to North Africa, was the only one that made it, with an extra 100 seamen who he rescued from the other ships.
Impressive.
To say his health is rather shaky these days would be an understatement. I think most of my time on board will be spent dealing with his numerous ailments.
Well, there's nothing left for me to do but to wish you a good trip.
Oh, you are not coming with us?
Unfortunately, no. I'm to go back to Zurich.
What a pity.
Take care, Dr. Gebhardt.
Oh, I just remembered. We found these in the tunnel. Are they yours?
I'm afraid so.
Strophantine. Do you have heart problems? Maybe it's for the best that you're not coming along. Too much excitement could be bad for your health.
You mean if I don't do anything, I'll probably have a few more years to live?
That's right. Keep your chin up.
James! Where on earth are you?
Hello, Baroness.
Ah, Inspector.
Constable.
Poppycock. You won't be a constable much longer. When they find out how you rescued that little boy, they'll have to promote you to Inspector.
Very kind of you to say so, Baroness. I hope you survived the adventure in the tunnel unharmed.
Scandalous! You book a first-class cabin, and then you're walking on the rails. They wanted to bundle me off in a bus without my luggage.
The circumstances, madam.
I insisted on a limousine and didn't leave until all my luggage was recovered.
Did you know that the real Eye of the Sphinx wasn't even on the train?
I had no idea. Inspector Legrand seems to prefer to keep me in the dark, although I'm the one paying for all of this.
The inspector is ensuring the safety of the Eye.
Well, obviously. All the same, it was you who did the real work on the train.
I hope that the remainder of your trip to Cairo will be less stressful.
You aren't coming with us.
I'm afraid Inspector Legrand doesn't want my company.
Now, where's my damned butler? James, there you are. Is the inspector to carry my luggage onto the ship all by himself?
Well, actually... Baroness?
Baroness, can you hear me? She fainted.
No. No.
Baroness?
Again, harder.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Help me up.
Perhaps we should...
Now.
I'll get Dr. Gebhardt.
No, Doctor. Just a little moment of weakness. Your arm, James. Take me to the ship.
But of course, madam.
That was no moment of weakness. She saw something that shocked her, or someone. Very interesting, especially since she doesn't want to admit it. Who or what did she see? Neither of them seems to have noticed what happened down here. You'll have a tough time with her. How does one get aboard without a ticket? Not brilliant, but it's a possibility.
Oh, who do we have here? Signore...
This is Constable Anton Zellner.
Signore Zellner, I heard about your feats in the mountains. Welcome aboard the MS Lydia.
Thank you, Captain.
I didn't know you'd be taking part in the journey, but I'm glad to have you with us. I'll have a nice cabin prepared for you immediately.
The constable will not be joining us. He has other duties.
Oh, that's too bad. I would have loved to hear about his adventures from the man himself.
I'd like to accept your offer, but unfortunately, higher powers prevent it.
I am sorry to hear that. We are by no means full, and have plenty of room for one more passenger.
The constable just wants to have a quick look around and then leave before we set sail. When will that be?
In about 15 minutes.
There you have it, Constable.
May I ask how to get to the cargo hold?
Oh, Signori, there are much nicer places on board.
But I'm interested in the cargo hold.
Why is that?
One of the trunks seems suspicious to me. Someone could be hidden in it.
You? You want to imply that the most brilliant and probably richest thief in all of Europe is stowing away in a trunk? That's not his style.
That's what makes it more likely that it's not him, but a copycat who's behind all this. And a copycat's style might include doing whatever it takes, like hiding in a trunk if they've lost the ticket.
Oh, come now.
Actually, it would be possible for a registered passenger to board the ship without a ticket.
What do you mean?
You can't buy a ticket for the Lydia at the counter. You book the trip in advance. We know the names of all the passengers. As long as a passenger is on the guest list, we let them board the ship. Doesn't matter if they have a ticket or not.
And did any of the passengers board without a ticket?
I couldn't say. We ask for a name and check it on the list. The tickets are no more than souvenirs for the passengers.
So much for your trunk theory.
Regardless of what you say, I would still like to examine the cargo hold.
All right, then, if you like. But we'll meet here again in 10 minutes. Captain De Conti, before we depart, I'd like to send 2 telegrams.
Certainly, Inspector. The cargo hold is over there. You can enter through a door on the forecastle. The horn will sound twice, 5 minutes before we set off. That's the signal for all the dock workers to leave the ship.
Understood, Captain.
Follow me to the bridge. You can send your telegrams from there.
My time is running out. If I don't find anything in the cargo hold, my cruise will be over before it even begins. Oh, no. Oh, what's this? Aha. That's the young woman's cabriolet. Apparently they absolutely had to take it to Egypt, at Daddy's expense, of course. Hello? Come on out. The game's up. I'm opening the trunk. Hello? I'm sure someone was in the trunk, but where are they now? The shards are... Phew, I startled too easily. Ouch! Damned... Ah! It would be best if no one found out about this. There's some blood and hair stuck to the pipe. Hair I really can't afford to lose. I'll hold it on the blood-spattered end. After all, we already know who the victim is. The shot hit this crate. The question is, was the gunman actually trying to hit it? And if so, why? The cargo hold seems to be used as a changing room for the crew as well. Or at least the part of the crew that doesn't do their work in white suits. A detention cell for crew members? Or maybe for rowdy passengers? It's already dark outside. How long have I been unconscious? I didn't lock the door when I came in. Whoever locked the door is stronger than me. I should be careful. The gunman may still be nearby.
What are you up to, Zellner?
I wanted to determine whether the gun had been fired recently, Inspector.
I mean, what are you doing on the ship?
I was jumped in the cargo hold.
Of course you were.
Here, look. Careful how you hold it. There could be fingerprints on the end.
Surely you don't expect me to believe you.
I was inspecting the trunk. I found it in the cargo hold, and it was clear that someone had hidden inside it to board the ship.
Some people are willing to go to great lengths to be a part of this journey.
Indeed. Whoever it was, they struck me on the head from behind with the pipe while I was looking for clues. Oh, and they shot at me as well.
Ridiculous. You wanted to come along. Orders be damned, and so you found a way to stay here. I should throw you overboard.
I would have dreamed up something less painful.
True. That doesn't look good.
See? And there's a bullet wedged in a wooden crate down there. I don't have a gun.
The doctor should have a look at it. Come with me.
Inspector Legrand and Constable Zellner. So you have decided to join us on our journey after all?
So it would seem. We are searching for Dr. Gebhardt.
I'm just fine, Captain Conti.
The Conti.
I'm in control. I can manage. Tell James he absolutely must wake me at 10:15.
Certainly, madam.
Absolutely.
I shall see that he does.
And now I shall return to my chambers. You'll be in the bar tonight at 10, Inspector?
If that's what you wish.
It will be spectacular. I promise.
The fresh sea air, and perhaps a glass of champagne to many. But I'm glad that you decided to join us on our journey to Cairo.
Not quite voluntarily.
So he says.
I was jumped from behind.
But no, that is...
Dr. Gebhardt should have a look at him, Captain De Conti.
Of course. Please, have a seat in the saloon, Constable Zellner. I'll summon the doctor. Ah, Doctor, there you are. Our brave Constable Zellner was attacked.
Struck on the head.
Oh. Sit down, please.
Now, please, tell me exactly what happened.
I think you've got a stowaway on board. I was jumped.
Intolerable. I'll have the crew search every nook and cranny of the ship. And of course, Mr. Zellner, you are cordially invited to travel as our special guest.
Good to know that at least one man doesn't want to throw me overboard.
Is it bad?
Yes, it hurts a lot.
I spoke with Dr. Gebhardt.
He suffered a violent blow to the back of the head. I cannot really say how bad it is.
But I can. It really hurts. Why didn't anyone come looking for me? Didn't anyone notice that I didn't come back from the cargo hold?
We did search for you, but we couldn't find you.
Who was supposed to search the cargo hold?
Constable Oliver. I'll have a talk with him about that later.
I should hope so.
How many fingers do you see?
Fingers?
Mr. Zellner.
3 fingers.
Okay.
Where are we, and what time is it? I must have been out for ages.
It's just after 8 p.m.
You just missed dinner. But we'll all meet here in the saloon at 10 o'clock to have a drink together. Greeting the passengers personally is a tradition I will not break, even on this unusual journey.
You're all right now, Constable. The bleeding has stopped, and the wound looks good. You may have a mild concussion. You just need a good night's sleep. And tomorrow, your only worries will be a headache and an impressive bump.
Thanks.
That's a good enough reason to celebrate. Enough about crooks and thieves. From now on, you can start to enjoy your free cruise.
Inspector!
What?
A dark shadow. Upper deck, just now.
Go, let's have a look.
I'll join you.
Me too.
No, you stay here.
Do you want to make this an argument?
Robert, go to the Baroness and don't let her out of your sight. Zellner, you're coming to the port side. Doctor, you go to starboard. I'll start at the forecastle and work my way back to the 2 of you. Understood?
But...
Baroness von Trebitz! Hello? Baroness von Trebitz? Open the door!
All right, Doc. I'm off.
Oh no, I'm not going on a manhunt all by myself. Are you okay? Maybe you had better take a rest, in case the blow was more severe.
I'm okay.
Zellner, up here!
Come on. I think it came from up there.
Sure, you just wanted to get a breath of fresh air. Zellner, look who we have here.
Well, if that's not our shadow.
And our stowaway.
Spent any time hiding in a trunk recently?
Me do nothing.
He claims to be part of the crew. Just wanted to get some fresh air.
Of course.
The Baroness won't open the door, sir.
Understood. Take him to the detention cell, Robert. You were right. There was a stowaway.
Yes, but he can't be the Raven. He's too young.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the Raven isn't lurking here as well.
What was that?
A shot!
It came from one of the cabins.
Oh no! Baroness von Trebitz? Baroness! Open the door!
Step aside, please.
We have a murder on our hands, gentlemen. Hurry, Zellner. The murderer still has to be nearby. There's practically no one on deck. Anyone who's outside is a suspect. This time, we'll get him. Zellner, are you okay?
Yes. Come on. We have to.
Zellner! Zellner! Murder!
Ah, you awake? Sleep well, did you?
I like to sleep late when I take a cruise.
While everyone else is hard at work.
Have you arrested anyone yet?
You mean besides the Arab?
He could hardly have committed the murder. You must have been with him when it happened.
We heard the shot on the forecastle. I locked our friend in the detention cell in the cargo hold, and then went up to assist Legrand. You were already sleeping the sleep of the just.
Any other suspects?
No. Seconds after the alarm went off, the decks were swarming with frightened passengers.
Yes. A clever...
But we still have our primary suspect, the Raven.
You really think he's returned?
Well, I think that no one knows as much about the Raven as Legrand.
But still, it all seems so incredible. I didn't pass out last night because of the blow to my head, did I?
Seems unlikely. Inspector Legrand thinks you were drugged.
But how? The champagne.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Captain De Conti.
Interesting.
It should be possible to find traces of the tranquilizer in the glass.
That is exactly what Legrand is trying to do.
Without a laboratory?
Oh, he's got a lab. His cabin is packed with all the latest forensic stuff. It's quite impressive what the inspector can do.
A competent man, no doubt. And surprisingly well prepared.
And diligent. He's been at it all night with his brushes and tinctures and glasses and everything. Working like a man possessed. I wouldn't want to be the Raven now.
What's the state of play? How was the Baroness killed?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We'll know more once the doc finishes examining the body in the medical centre.
And no one saw anything suspicious?
No one saw a shadowy Raven leaving the Baroness's cabin, if that's what you mean. A lot of people heard the gunshot. Inspector Legrand wants to question the passengers again this morning, once they've all calmed down, and he's had a chance to examine the evidence.
I suppose that you and Legrand inspected the crime scene and the surroundings.
Of course. And we already hit the jackpot. The murder weapon.
Really? Where did you find it?
On the gangway. The gangway for boarding the ship folds up and hooks onto the hull when it's not being used. The murderer probably wanted to throw the gun into the sea. He casually dropped it overboard.
But it landed on the gangway.
Bad luck.
But Legrand and I were on the side deck right after the shot. There was no one there.
Maybe the murderer threw the gun away later. We recovered it in the early hours.
I think I'll look for Inspector Legrand now.
Do what you think's best.
You won't get rid of me. I'm here to stay, Constable Oliver.
Be that as it may, Inspector Legrand ordered me to guard the cargo hold with our special guest. That's fine by me. Inspector Legrand may be able to get by without sleep for days on end, but not me. It's not easy playing with the big boys, Constable Zellner.
No, it certainly isn't. An antique wooden globe. If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then, this would be a flat disk now. How wonderful. It would be a perfect cruise day, if not for the murder. The ship must have been rebuilt at some point. I'm sure it didn't originally have such a modern glass roof. But I don't have time for that at the moment. No, Jacob. Business before pleasure. Big, soft towels. I could reserve a deck chair with it. No, better not. These things made quite a racket last night. I couldn't hear myself think. The cabin was sealed. I'm pretty sure the seal doesn't have any legal relevance here on the open sea, but I'm still dependent on Legrand letting me join his team. I better not blow it by breaking his seal without permission. Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's not actually possible. I suppose the life jackets are stowed there, close to the railing, close at hand in case of emergency. We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway. The grate must be part of the ship's ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary. This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. You can smell the smoke from the funnel. I have no idea how the ship works, and I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat. Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not. The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them navigating. I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the passengers and the bar. There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here. Constable Oliver brought something to drink. You can tell it's not the first time he's had to guard something. It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. Any conclusions about a young stowaway?
He's a bit suspicious, foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Aha, he's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand if I form my own conclusions.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm going to do.
How about a bit of individual initiative?
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
What do you think? What happened here last night?
The Raven broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Let's assume that the old Raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. It's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever identify the Raven himself. Some claims that they didn't even know that they were working for him. Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they were doing it.
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real Raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
The stowaway surely didn't sleep well last night in the cargo hold, although his cell is probably more comfortable than my cabin, and more spacious. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe the inventor realized that it's difficult to play ball games on a boat and came up with an alternative. Salty sea air in my old lungs, wind in my thinning hair. If I hadn't become a policeman, I could have been a sailor. The bottle should be full of water. No way to verify that. An evacuation plan? And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness, sunburn, and the like. And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain, a shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. And that's about it. A real barrel of fun.
Come in.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
You want something else from me, don't you?
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
what's the result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
She was shot. Point-blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her heart. She died immediately.
One shot?
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
I am told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't. The inspector said he's the better chemist. I let him do it. That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Do you think the Baroness might have been drugged? She was very tired and unsteady when Legrand and I saw her.
Yeah, I heard about that. I must have just missed her in the saloon. And without having seen her myself, it is hard to make a diagnosis.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Do you know whose glass I drank from?
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
I Don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
Have you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it. That is also what I told the constable, who he kept sending all night long, once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable. How much longer will it take?
I have just finished. Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours. Can you tell that to your boss?
But... Could I at least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
An alarm like this one was set off yesterday. This one hasn't been set off. The security seal is intact. I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cabin. It's rather... plain, shall we say. No, I've slept enough. That is Legrand's cabin.
Come in. Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Good morning, Inspector Legrand. My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate. That's why you have a headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
What have you found out so far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the crime scene.
And if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage that anyway?
Especially since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Something doesn't make sense here.
No, it doesn't, and it's driving me crazy.
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Indeed. And do you find that probable?
Not a bit.
Neither do I.
What kind of a gun is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Manufactured 1,000,000 times during and after the First World War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Fingerprints?
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet recovered from the corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
About the bullet. Here it is.
Excellent. Give it to me. As I suspected, a 7.65 Parabellum Luger.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we have the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure. But what about now, by daylight?
Yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Thanks. I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course. Do you believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he can't remember anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
He was on the train and he doesn't have an alibi. His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
I believe it was Captain de Conti.
If believing were enough for us, we'd have become priests, Constable. Be a policeman and find out for sure.
Understood. You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye. At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key.
She
surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He imprisons her until the coast is clear, and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Do you really think that the Raven is behind all this?
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part because he never hurt anyone, much less killed anyone, during a burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Inspector Legrand, are you okay? Maybe you should take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Be seeing you. Legrand is risking not just his career, but his health as well on his hunt for the Raven. He's working like a demon. Maybe that's why he caught the Raven and no one else. A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less dreary. A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since a plant won't survive long without daylight. A model of the Lydia before it was rebuilt. It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins, and the saloon were added later. This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in. There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here. The most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen. A portable bar is more like it. Must be hard work transporting this big, heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion. Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. Something's under there. Down feathers, maybe from a quilt or a pillow. Nothing special. Although it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top, literally burnt. I'll take it with me. There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose. A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in speakers. Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder top of the range, and then a big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks. Aha! More feathers, and they're singed as well. I'd better take it with me. The portholes are locked. One cannot open or close them from outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin through the porthole, how did they lock it? And the Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range. The notepad has the ship's emblem on it. I suppose all the first-class cabins have them. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. An impressive piece, but I don't think it'll get me anywhere with the murder investigations. The message from the desk of the The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place? The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep. I would describe his facial expression as worried. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If? But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Did you hear the gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other passengers.
She hadn't intended to take a nap, then?
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months? I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
We're lucky that, I suppose, neither Dr. Gebhardt nor Constable Oliver can keep up with Legrand's pace. But in contrast to good old Robert, the doctor doesn't let himself get roped in for the long haul. I wonder what would happen if Legrand dragged him out of bed for another investigation.
Come in. Constable?
About the tranquilizer.
Do you know how you wound up with the glass?
Not yet.
Then you should stop wasting my time and get back to work.
I found feathers in the Baroness's cabin.
Really?
Some were under the Baroness's bed, others were in a vase next to the door.
I hope this is leading up to some information that justifies this interruption.
Some of the feathers are singed.
Show me. Well, you may have something here.
I think that someone fired a shot through a pillow or something like that, and the muzzle flash scorched the down.
Yes, possible. Try to find the pillow and we'll take it from there.
I was able to make the traces of a note on the Baroness's notepad legible. She wrote that a murderer is on board and that she'll unmask him. She asks the recipient to meet her in the saloon at 10 p.m. If we can find the recipient.
I was the recipient.
Monsieur?
When I entered my cabin last night, I found a message on the floor. Someone must have slipped it under the door.
Why didn't you say anything about it?
I didn't know that I was obliged to.
We are partners.
Not really. You're helping me out until we reach Cairo, because you somehow managed to remain on board.
But
I'll choose when and with whom I share information. You can accept that and continue assisting me, or you can spend the rest of the journey on a deck chair thinking about missed opportunities.
And none of this is by any chance related to the fact that the message doesn't suit your Raven theory. The Baroness knew the murderer from the past, and he was already a murderer when he boarded the ship. The Raven was always just a thief, not a murderer.
Careful, Constable. Are you accusing me of perverting the facts?
Of course not, monsieur.
Then let's get back to work. Good day, Constable.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
I better let the men do their work. A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is ship-shape with this boat. I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he was already under arrest at the time of the shot, he may have noticed something before. And what about the other gunshot? Could the second missing bullet from the murder weapon be stuck down there in one of the wooden crates? If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to get rid of the constable first. He won't let me talk to our young friend. I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Whatever his story is, he's not a thief. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects Legrand far too much to disobey his orders. If I want to get into the cargo hold, I'll have to... The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens to have a secret. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. The gangway is hard to miss, so... Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw a twinkle in her eye on the train. She's eager to be part of a real detective story. Lady Westmacott, already on your... Oh.
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew. I can't bear to think about something happening to him.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned.
He said that.
Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave for one last job. It's quite romantic. At the same time, though, I'd be disappointed.
Why is that?
I followed the Raven's career closely. There weren't many burglars with such character and charm. His burglaries were clever and entertaining, but he was sloppy in London. He almost got caught, and I'll never forgive him for the affair on the train. No, I would much rather that the Raven stayed dead and had nothing to do with the burglary or the murder.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect evidence, traces, clues, That's what will lead us to the killer. It won't be like a bad crime novel, in which they introduce a new character shortly before the end who, surprise, surprise, is also the murderer.
Murderers leave evidence. They're nervous or unnaturally relaxed. They have to adjust constantly.
And because of that, they make mistakes. This is your chance, Constable. If you find the mistake...
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all the commotion. Damnable old age.
You're telling me.
Oh, you're still young. At my age, you have to expect that you won't experience much anymore. And although I've written about murder so many times, I've never actually witnessed one. How exciting.
I doubt everyone is so relaxed in such a situation.
Heartless is the word you're searching for, right, Constable? I certainly didn't want the Baroness to be murdered, but if I can't undo it, then I might as well enjoy it.
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent, focused. I had a chat with him yesterday, and he impressed me, but there's something haunted in his eyes.
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the raven.
Catching the raven made him famous. What if he actually shot the wrong person? Unjustified fame bothers people, the good ones at least.
And you think he's one of the good ones?
Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial must be honorable. Or insane.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night. The alcoholic drinks and everything that goes with them is top-notch on this ship. Fresh ice and tongs. They could be useful.
Constable Zellner, what is the meaning of this? Are even the police light-fingered nowadays?
I need this tool for a criminal investigation.
Well then, why didn't you say so? So, how are you getting along? Can I be of any help?
Actually, you could answer a few questions. What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long?
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when the alarm goes off, I lose the battle.
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. She definitely wanted to stay in the saloon. But then she realized that she really did need to lie down. We left together. You know the rest of the story.
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
There was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from, Did anyone else drink from it?
Certainly.
We have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. On a night like that, many glasses are filled and emptied. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and every bottle.
A few drops in a glass?
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
Ah, I understand. You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No. I saw that you weren't doing so well and wanted to rescue the situation. I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to you, together with Dr. Gebhardt, who, of course, he had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down so that he could examine you. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
I'd like to apologize for that, but you look so worse for the wear, and I just wanted to comfort you. I didn't think of looking for a new glass for you.
So the doctor had the drugged glass in his hand. Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that they're sealed. Can't we just check whether the seal is broken?
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarms haven't been regularly maintained?
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. In most cases, I just shook hands with them as they boarded the ship. There are a few regulars on board, and after dinner, I had a conversation with Mr. Kreutzer, a talented violinist, and Lady Westmacott. But you already know them from the train.
It seems like there aren't that many passengers on board.
These bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal coffins instead of enjoying the fresh sea air on a ship.
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey, that's what it's about.
I'll get back to my investigations now.
Ciao, Constable.
Dr. Gebhardt closed the... Who'd want...
Come in. Constable?
About the tranquilizer.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Captain de Conti.
You're sure?
He doesn't deny it, but he also says that the glasses passed through many hands that night and that everyone had access to the champagne.
So it could have been anyone.
Maybe the question isn't who put the poison in the glass, but rather who it was they wanted to poison.
Smart. And who were they trying to poison?
Dr. Gebhardt? The captain got the glass from him.
an unconscious ship's doctor. That sounds like it would be more use to a murderer than a drugged constable.
You think so? Did the murderer have reason to assume that his shot might not kill the victim immediately and that Dr. Gebhardt would be able to save her?
You're right. That's improbable. My ego is just searching for reasons for them to want to kill her, and not me. Good job, Zellner.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues.
Very well.
I have to, even though, and what could the if I want, he won't. He won't let he respect if I want. The death of his... The death... I can't say why, and it seems impossible, but something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how. Why would... Oh, is there anything... Could work. There's something in there. Ah. Someone stuffed this in the vase. Looks like it's been used to muffle a gunshot. If this isn't an important discovery, I don't know what is. Legrand, here I come. Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. Which is unlikely because someone would have seen him, or he found another way out of the cabin. A singed pillowcase is proof that there must have been a second gunshot. Inspector?
Can't you knock?
I didn't realize.
I'm not getting anywhere. I'm going to question each passenger individually. Anyone without an airtight alibi will be checked for gunshot residue.
But, Inspector...
People trip up when you put pressure on them, Constable Zellner. The Raven is nervous. He's changed his methodology and become a murderer. I'll see it in his eyes. After you.
But, Inspector Legrand... We have no proof that the Raven and the murderer are the same person. Quite the opposite. The Baroness's message hints at the fact that she knew the murderer and that he'd killed before.
You may not know it, but I do. I will catch him with or without your help.
I don't believe it. What's gotten into him? Oh, well... It makes no sense to tell him about my theories if his opinion is already set. I need evidence. Or better yet, the murderer. I also need his lab if I'm going to get anywhere. I need to get in there somehow. And I really need to talk to the stowaway. He may have information, and the inspector will just ignore him since he's too young to be the Raven. Dr. Gebhardt locked something. Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train. Hello there, partner.
Hi.
Are you all right?
Uh-huh.
have you recovered from our adventure?
Mr. Zellner, what's going on?
What do you mean?
Everybody's acting so strange, and there's tape across that door. I saw that in a movie once.
You don't have to be worried.
Is it about the man from the train?
It might be about the thief, yes.
Haven't you caught him yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I heard you and your mom used to argue a lot.
We did. Everything was bad. The house, school, the other kids. We didn't have much money, and I was always alone.
You do know that your mother would love to have been with you, don't you? She had to go out to work to earn money.
She wouldn't have had to, if Dad were still around.
And how do you get along with her now?
I'm always happy when we do something together on vacation. She has more time for me now, and I like my boarding school. I have lots of friends, and the teachers aren't so bad.
Your mother and Professor Lucien seem to be on very good terms with each other. Don't you like him?
Don't know.
He seems to be very nice.
I guess.
Lady Westmacott is all by herself in the saloon. Maybe you'd like to visit her later.
Sure, the lady tells exciting stories.
I know. She's my favorite writer.
She told me that it's not much fun to write detective novels. She'd rather write something else, but her fans always want the same thing.
They made her rich and famous.
I told her to write what she wants to write. If it's good, someone will buy it. And if not, at least she had fun writing it. Then she smiled and nodded. She said it was a good idea.
What are you playing there?
I'm playing shuffleboard. At least I'm trying to.
Never played it before.
It's easy. Professor Lucien explained it to me.
And who won?
We didn't play.
You didn't want to play with him, did you? Do you want to play a game with me?
Sure.
Then let's get started.
Oh, yeah. What are we playing for?
I thought we'd just play for fun.
That's boring. We have to bet something. Otherwise, it isn't fun.
You English people.
So I'll bet my brand new slingshot. And you?
I don't want to gamble.
How about ice cream in Cairo?
Okay. If I win, I get the slingshot. If I lose, I get an ice cream in Cairo.
Hey! Never try to cheat Matt Miller. So, what do you say? Ice cream versus slingshot?
All right. Let the games begin. That's it.
Oh, man.
The athlete wins the day.
One more time.
No, that's enough for me.
All right. Here.
Are you sure?
Gambling debts are debts of honor.
I'll give it back to you when I don't need it anymore, okay?
Okay, but make sure my mom doesn't catch you with it. She thinks it's dangerous.
He could be more cooperative, but in the end, he's just doing his... No reason to shoot a stone at his head. If I had some ammo, I'm sure I could... I'm sure that the pillow... Hello, Matt.
Hi there. Okay, you play with the blue pucks and I play with the red ones. You have to push the pucks with this stick into the zone...
Sounds easy.
6.
Miss Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards. Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh.
That wretch!
Who do you mean by that wretch?
That stowaway. That new raven.
The young man can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
One last question, Professor. The safe in Legrand's cabin can only be opened with 3 keys. Am I right?
That's correct. We sent the first to Monsieur Mokhtar of the Egyptian Museum via air freight. I have one, and the inspector has the other.
But it was originally planned that someone else should carry the 3rd key, right?
You are well informed, Constable. Baroness von Trebitz should have had it. But then there were... concerns. And for that reason, Inspector Legrand took it himself.
Was that his idea?
Well, yes, you could say that. I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
Oh, of course. See you later.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it. How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a scream?
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And then?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well?
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
You and Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right. For the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour. You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a U.S. base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family, and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night, and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well, too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
Lady Westmacott dropped a...
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished part. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, part 2 will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons. Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that, for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, sore throat, or rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests, one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them. Mr. Kreutzer clearly feels uneasy. But does Legrand actually think he's the Raven? Mr. Kreutzer clearly... Legrand is absorbed in the interrogation. He still seems pretty annoyed. The violinist seems to be bearing the brunt of it. Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Did Miss Miller cope with all the excitement?
I think so. But what happened on the train was quite a shock for her. She wouldn't be able to go on if something happened to Matthew.
She's worried about him.
He's all she has. It breaks her heart that he lives at a boarding school and can't always be with her. But she sets her wish...
Where is Matthew's father?
Gone. Run off. Ran away from his problems again. He drank a lot. More and more after each setback. It's better for both of them this way.
He left her?
She couldn't have borne it. She loved him and wanted to stick by him. She fell out with her family over him. They couldn't understand her. And when he left her, the ground opened up beneath her feet. For 2 weeks, if she didn't have Matthew, she'd be dead.
You seem to know a lot about it. I mean...
I have my reasons.
And Matthew?
If you fail with your...
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible, and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
Miss Miller told me that you have a valuable manuscript with you.
That is correct.
An unpublished Part 2 novel. The manuscript must be worth a fortune.
Oh, it's not just any Part 2 novel. I wrote it 20 years ago, but it will only be published after my death. It's Partou's last case. Maurice Partou dies.
You're going to kill him off?
I already have. And I enjoyed it.
Madam.
I was so sick of writing one Partou novel after another. I was keen to stick a knife in his guts. And so, 20 years ago, I did. Of course, I didn't want to disappoint my fans, so I let him solve case after case. But at least I was certain that he'd never escape me, that in the end, I would get him.
I understand. Let's just hope that this novel remains unpublished for many more years. And the idea to send Matt to...
was mine. Matthew idolized his father and blamed his mother for the fact that he wasn't around, and I was afraid the situation would escalate if he had to live on a country estate alone with his mother and some old people. I think I was right. He quickly made friends at boarding school. He's popular, well-liked, a real athlete according to his teachers, and his relationship with his mother has improved as well.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course. English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine. Excellent. That's just what I needed. Coffee is not bad at all, but 1 cup is enough. It's not fair. There's a magnificent... The death of his mistress doesn't really bother Inch. The globe nicely looking out the window. Sunflowers. By Van Gogh, I presume. He liked to paint. Can't be an original. Sifting through all that would take... But here, the Baroness's... Ha-ha. A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. This must be the Baroness's diary. Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, Arrange benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing. Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx. BM, poor excuse for photographer. Too fidgety. And so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky. Difficult to read. Dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. Next week, Jay's. Cosmetics, a handkerchief. There's only one reel. And it's the wrong one. No sign of the original reel. A reel made by Zeibling. Zeiblings, they're used in art, but they're not good for much else. Dr. Gebhardt, something to... Legrand locked the door. The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it. I hope I don't find myself needing a light. Maybe Miss Miller has found something of a soulmate in the archaeologist. And for people with... Miss Miller?
Yes, Constable?
I wanted to ask... Lady Westmacott.
That's true. He's full of energy. He's very talented and learns new games very quickly.
I regret to say that was never one of my strong points.
It certainly is. He's settled down, and he's become something of a leader in his... A year ago, I'd have never...
I'll be seeing you.
Constable?
I'll let him play for now. I guess I'll stop whatever his... Miss Mayers seems to have found an opportunity to do nothing. Hello, Miss Mayers.
Hello, Mr...
Constable, do you think it's appropriate to go sunbathing in a situation like this?
What situation?
A woman was murdered last night.
If refusing to sunbathe could bring the dead back to life, I'd go back to my cabin immediately.
Did you hear or see anything suspicious last night?
No, I didn't feel very well last night. I went to bed early.
So, you're feeling better this morning?
Thanks for asking.
I'm sure your parents are truly sorry that they can't be with you at this difficult time.
Maybe. But I'm not a little girl anymore. And thinking about my fiancé keeps me going.
You're engaged?
Yes. My boyfriend and I got engaged right before the trip. I want to surprise my parents, especially my dad.
I'm sure he'll be very surprised. But what will you do if your father doesn't agree to the engagement?
What choice does he have when he put me on this boat full of thieves and murderers in the first place?
Charming. Enjoy the sun, Miss Mayers, and don't let us disturb you.
If you're trying to make me feel guilty, Constable, it's not.
Did Edison have any idea what would become of his invention? Miss Mayers doesn't really see... Captain DeConti seems old and tired. The price you pay for a life like his, I suppose. I'm sure Captain DeConti wouldn't mind a chat. I'm sure Captain DeConti wouldn't mind.